All right, so I figured while I've got you guys up here, actually, before I head back down, it's a little bit lower. This side of the valley is loaded with fatwood, which is one of my absolute favorite fire starters. So I figured why not just take you guys on a quick little fatwood hunt. So for anyone that's not familiar, fatwood is the wood of a pine tree that has been impregnated or fully saturated with sap, resin, and terpenes after the tree dies or a limb dies. You can actually harvest fatwood off of a living tree, off of a large branch towards the base. It's actually not too difficult at all. So, but all that resin impregnates that pine wood and makes it very, very, very rot resistant. Makes it very dense, very heavy, and highly aromatic. I love the smell of fatwood. One of my all-time favorites. I wish I could build a house out of this stuff, but I'm not sure I could get the insurance company to cover it. Whew, man. Yeah, man, you're gone for a couple of months and you lose all of that fitness you had. The ability to process the thin air. So, all right, we've got some stumps here. Here's a stump. This one has probably got fatwood in it, but I think I've got some better choices here. But yeah, you'll find a fatwood stump where the rest of the tree has been gone for years and years and years and years because it's water resistant. The water can't get in and begin that breakdown process. So the stump will last much longer. So that's a pretty good one. Actually, we'll go ahead and take this one. This one might not be too hard to get. The issue with stumps, if you don't find a tree that's been blown over that's pulled the roots up with it, the stumps can be quite hard to harvest anything out of, especially if all you're using is a knife. Luckily, I do have an axe with me, but my normal go-to for daily use is a little belt knife. You know, I've got a lot of favorites. This is one of them. I love the Lamora Garberg. I've modified it to put a bow drill socket in there. But that scraper on the back is a game changer. I love that for processing stuff down. It's great for processing fatwood. It's great for taking scrapings of other things, especially here in Colorado. Not at this particular elevation. You have to go down a little bit. We have got yucca, narrow leaf yucca. It is a pain in the rear to harvest the fibers out of that, but man, can you make some awesome cordage out of that stuff. It is strong, strong stuff. Here at this elevation, at this particular location, your option would be willow bark, but this is the wrong time of year. You might be able to get away with if you could boil some or heat it up. I have done that with aspen trees in the wintertime. I cut a green aspen tree, I cut a log about knee height. We were actually making snake chaps just to kind of see if it would work, a proof of concept. And I put one slice down the log, put it on a wood stove and actually seared it quite well. And that actually caused that newest layer of wood, that cambium layer, to separate. And we could actually peel it off like it was new green growth. And then you could easily make snake chaps or arrow quiver, which is something we actually teach students to do. You can create drinking vessels out of bark, just holding containers out of bark. It's really very versatile. But enough of that. Let me get you guys set up and I will try to get me a chunk of fatwood off of this fella right here. This color is one of the clues I look for. That is not always a guarantee of fatwood. That is a good indicator, but it is not a guarantee. But I will go through some more steps with you guys once I set you down here. Let's talk about fatwood, also known as lighter knot, heart of pine, lighter pine. I mean, there's tons and tons and tons of different names for it. All talks about the same stuff. All right. So again, obviously, some parts of this stump are more rot resistant than others. There are holes in the top that I can stick my hand into. So those were not impregnated. But the fact that this is not rotted away, it's got that color. And one of the other clues I look for, so I'll take my knife or something, I'm going to listen to the sound of this. Let me see if I can find a piece that's not very, doesn't have a very good tone. Kind of hear that's like dull, kind of a dull thud, thump, right? Now if I bring it over here to this, fatwood is very dense and very hard. Listen so you can hear the difference. That's a huge difference, right? You can almost play a little tune out here. I can, of course, just test it by taking a scrape, kind of cut into it a little bit. I can look at the color, looking for a nice rich color, and the smell. The smell is my favorite way to tell. Oh, it smells so good. So, all right, we're gonna peel a little chunk of this off with my axe, process it down, and get it struck with a ferro rod. Okay. So again, I'm not trying to take the whole stump here. I'm just trying to take enough for me to have it be usable. So we'll actually try this outer piece here. Try it again. There we go. Now I'm not sure. Oh yeah, then we got some, I think. Now this is not what I would call high grade, sadly. Oh, some little larva husk of some kind. So it's got the rich smell, and it's definitely got enough sap and terpenes in it for it to work, right? But I would really prefer this to be a very, very dark amber color. But this will do good enough for what we're trying to do here, right? Let me put my sheath back on the axe here. All right, so we got our fatwood here. This is also not very heavy. I can tell by the weight that this is not very, very high grade stuff. That's all right. We'll make it work. So take the belt knife, all right? Just so I don't have you guys here for 15 minutes, hopefully. Fatwood also tends to carve a lot better, so I could feather stick this. Right now I'm just taking off some really light little curls just to kind of add in, because that breeze is kicking up. So I do want to make sure I can actually demonstrate the flame. That's another thing about feather sticks, is that ideally you do want to actually create curls that stay attached to the piece of wood you're working on. This is obviously quite large for the feather stick, but you normally want them to make at least 3 or 4 intact curls. You can also change the direction the curls go. If I angle my knife like so, the curls will travel in that direction. If I angle my knife blade like so, the curls will actually go in the other way. So, just take off some nice little thin slivers here. I'll go ahead and detach that curl bit at the base. All right. Now, for, like I was talking about, that favorite feature of mine on this knife, turn it around, use that scraper that's got a sharpened 90-degree edge. And I can actually take and create nice, light, airy fluffs. He was using the blade of his axe to scrape the ferro rod, which is a no-no. We teach students you do not do that. You want a sharpened 90-degree spine on your knife, because a ferro rod, as opposed to flint and steel, a ferro rod creates sparks that are anywhere from 3,000 to 5,000 degrees, which would be more than enough to damage or destroy the very fine edge on a good tool. Versus if you're scraping with the back of the blade, I'm not worried about that getting too hot. The ferro rod's not going to heat it up. Traditional flint and steel, on the other hand, only produces sparks around 500 degrees. So not quite as versatile for sure. With true flint and steel, you definitely need to be on top of your game, and also it really helps to have something like chaga or a horsehoof fungus like amadou, or to have pre-charred material like char cloth. That is something that we also teach students. Fire day is my absolute favorite day of instruction. I love it. So I've got a fairly decent little pile here. I'll readjust in a moment, but you know, it never hurts, again, to have more. This stuff does not fluff up quite as lovely as I would like, because like I said, it's rather low grade. But you know, you don't always get given, you know, AAA grade fatwood with a light me sign on it, right? You got to make do with what you got. You can do this with just standard wood. You can actually create fine enough shavings and curls that you could actually light those with a ferro rod. But again, that takes some skill. That takes practice. But you know, I did not get to where I am today without a lot of failure along the way, and I still fail all the dang time. And that is okay, because I don't give up. All right. Put this away for a moment. Okay, so here are those larger curls that I created, right? So I'm going to have those kind of on the edges, or at least ready to go on. I'm going to collect all that really fine stuff I scraped with the butt of my knife. This stuff here, light and fluffy and airy. That's what you're looking for. You know, I often give a little demo. I really try to hammer that home to students. That, you know, you process. You know, don't try to cut corners. You know, I understand you may be in a hurry, especially if you're at risk of going hypothermic. Say that there was someone that took a spill into some water, took a submersion, and you're in sub-zero temperatures. You've got to get a fire going fast. But, you know, is it better to take an extra minute or two to do it right the first time, or to spend 10 minutes because you didn't do it right and you keep struggling, right? Okay, so even with that wind, actually maybe I'll put this up here to help block the wind a little bit without hopefully blocking your view. All right, I've got my handy dandy everyday carry little ferro rod here. A little bit of use on it. Again, I'm taking the spine of my knife, not ever the blade, unless I have no other option. I am then going to take, I like to brace my wrist against either a rock or against my leg. We don't teach the spray and pray where I'm actually scraping the knife because you're going to knock all your stuff out of the way, plus you're swinging an edged tool around, not very safe. I like to plant the arm or the hand holding the knife and pull the ferro rod away, right? Like so. I can take some bigger curls here. There we are. Got it. There we are. Easy peasy. Even with low-grade Fatwood. So again, I would have all my other sticks and stuff already split. I would have all my different levels of kindling and twigs. I would actually have some extra tinder and stuff on hand. A lot of folks struggle if you try to go too fast too soon. You can kind of start to choke your fire out. There's nothing wrong with going back a step. You can go back down to smaller items and then work your way back up. And you can't rush it. So even for being low grade, that is some pretty darn good stuff. You can see that the black smoke coming off of that at all. That is all of the terpenes and the oil and the pitch burning out of the wood. So that is also another test you can do to see if it's Fatwood or not. Light a little curl of it up and see if you get black smoke. But yeah, all right. I'm going to get back to it now, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.